Confession. I grew up with a lot of fears. I was scared of the dark for a long time. Like, I used to just sleep, not even with a nightlight, which is like the whole ass light on for years. I was terrified of spiders. They still kind of freak me out, but I'm a lot better with it. I remember when I was in like fourth grade, fifth grade ish, somewhere around there, going to Universal Studios, and I did not get on a single ride. I didn't want to be on a roller coaster. I didn't want to be on anything. It just, everything freaked me out. I watched Final Destination when I was like around that age. I didn't even watch it because I knew it was going to scare me, and it still terrified me anyways, just like knowing what the movie was about. I I was very, very much just a scaredy cat kid. And as an adult, most of those I'm not afraid of anymore. Like, yeah, like the dark can still be scary, but there's, I don't know, it can be kind of comforting and serene in its own way. I still don't love spiders, but I let them do what they gotta do. I will go on rides in theme parks. Like, I was in Orlando a couple of years ago, like for my, for like my sister's, she just graduated med school. We were doing a celebrating her, and I had a blast going on like all kinds of roller coasters and shit. But of all those fears, I have an irrational one, and it's my favorite fear. And I know it's kind of a weird thing to say about something you're afraid of. Like, of all the things, this is the thing I like being afraid of. It's time loops, which means that, yes, for me, Groundhog Day is like a horror film rather than a comedy. But it's something that's grounded in reality. It's not just, yeah, I'm afraid of being in a time loop because, knock on wood, hopefully that'll never fucking happen. What I am afraid of is stagnation and the inability to change. Slay the Princess is a story that is all about change. And I'll go ahead and give a quick spoiler warning. I'll be honest, I'm not going to talk a lot about a lot of the individual routes and events, with one notable exception, but I will talk about the ending. So let me go and give a spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full spoilers are live. The true story going on in Slay the Princess is there is a being that is so terrified of death. One of the biggest changes you can ever really go through. And is trying to rid the world of the one being that can... the one being that can really bring that about. Because the princess is like the avatar of change, whereas the player, the long quiet, at least again my understanding, it's the avatar of perception. And our narrator reminds me a lot of N from Xenoblade 3, where you have this being that is so terrified of death, although for N it's afraid of someone else dying rather than himself, but is so afraid of death that he would rather exist in this endless now than embrace it and try to live a life in spite of, all the things that can go wrong, but trying to make the best of it. And I'll be honest, there is a part of me that can kind of understand that. I'm in the midst of a big change myself. My environment is completely different than what it was 2 weeks ago. My schedule is completely different. I really don't like having to drive it away. Like, it sucks. I miss my friends, my family, my bed, my cat, my car. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't resistant to change. I fucking hate change. But I hate stagnation more. I don't want to, as much as I love routine and the familiar and the comfortable, I don't want to live the same life forever. I don't want to be the same person forever. Like, I changed a lot in 2024. Felt like, especially in the past few months, I guess it's 2024, I talked about it a lot, for me was just a year of change and of growth. The first half was a lot of like circumstantial changes in growth, whereas the last half was kind of more on me as a person. And I've noticed I feel a lot happier now. Or at the very least, I think there's like an AJR song. It's like, I don't know if I'm happy, but I'm way less sad. And I understand that. I really feel that. Change is scary. Heartbreak is change. Disease is change. And death is change. But so is love. And so is healing. And so is life. And that's why I have no qualms at the end of Slay the Princess when I watch that mirror shatter and I join the Shambling Mound. Like, I know there's other endings. I think there's one where you can like reject the Shambling Mound. I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother with that. Like, I think to me this is kind of a perfect ending. What happens now? Everything. And you step into 1,000 Dawns. I think that's beautiful. It's an ending full of promise and it's full of potential, which to me is very much what the game is about. It's perfect. But it's not my favorite thing in the game. My favorite part of the game, my favorite route, is Happily Ever After. I've seen interpretations that it's about domestic violence with the damsel specific. I mean, I guess at that point she's not technically the damsel anymore. So like that version of the princess afraid to anger the voice of the smitten and literally living under his looming shadow. But to me, I saw it as more of a metaphor of just a loveless relationship, or kind of, just a deconstruction of a happily ever after ending when the princess and her Prince Charming don't know each other and don't have any real love. I've heard like a good few quotes about the symbiotic relationship between friendship and love. Like there's Nietzsche, who I believe it said, friendship is the highest form of love. Or maybe it's the other way around. It's like love is the highest form of friendship. There's Dr. Seuss, who says that love is finding someone with a weirdness that's compatible to yours, which is what I really like. And there was that Almost Friday TV episode that came out it was late October, early November last year that I really loved, where one of the main core themes is there is no love without friendship. If you don't really care about someone and try to get to know them, you can't really grow to love them. And if you love them like at first sight without forming that friendship first, it's a very empty and hollow love that is not going to last. And that's what we see at Happily Ever After. The voice of the smitten doesn't truly love the damsel. Not only does he not know anything about her, he would rather keep her in a gilded cage than give her what she really wants, which is her freedom. And the damsel has no love for him either. It's just, this is what I'm perceived to do, so I kind of just have to go along with it. It reads like a story between two people who rushed into a relationship and were like rushed into marriage without understanding what forever really means. And you might know exactly what quote I'm going to go here. Go with here. It's from Outcast. It's forever, ever, forever, ever, forever, ever seems so long until you're grown. Like, God, I love Miss Jackson. I actually saw a video yesterday, and it was of Gonzo and Kermit like rapping Miss Jackson. It wasn't like an AI thing. It was like, here's the audio in the background, but like it's lip synced by Gonzo and Kermit. And there's this part at the end. I'm sorry, going on a tangent, where Kermit, or it's like Kermit and Gonzo. So Gonzo's doing the "I'm sorry, Miss Jackson," and then Kermit just turns immediately and goes, "Oh!" And I was laughing so fucking hard. I'm sorry. But genuinely, it did make me kind of think of that. It's forever, ever, forever, ever. Forever never seems that long until you're grown, and now you have to go by that day by day routine. It's why I really love the ending to The Graduate. If you never, that's full spoilers for The Graduate too. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're live. The ending of that film is Benjamin Braddock crashes Elaine Robinson's wedding, and part of that is, he does really like her, but also he kind of just wants to spite, if I'm remembering it correctly. It's been a while since I've seen The Graduate. I think part of it was he was trying to spite Mrs. Robinson, or Mrs. Robinson was trying to keep him away from Elaine to spite him because of their affair. But they do this whole thing. He crashes Elaine's wedding. They run away together, and it's all, they get on a bus and they're smiles and happy. And I believe the sound of silence starts coming on. And that smile and that exuberance just kind of starts to fade. And they just sit there next to each other in a long quiet, realizing what they just did. And at this point, there's kind of no going back. And that is just kind of the pervasive feeling I had reading Happily Ever After. And it's that feeling of just this uncomfortableness, for lack of a better word off the top of my head, that makes the ending so powerful and so beautiful. The princess and the long quiet acknowledge that there is no love here, but we're willing to maybe give it a try and actually kind of get to know each other. And they get out of the castle and they share that dance under the stars. And as she fades away, gets like absorbed into the shambling mound, it's not the only route that does this, because I think there's a couple others, but it's one of the very, very few where she doesn't mention the cold. And also where she's able to go out with a smile. And all it really took to get there was to acknowledge that things needed to change and to see it through. I think it's a really perfect encapsulation of what makes Slay the Princess so great. I would highly, highly recommend reading it. I went through it unspoiled. I just spoiled a lot of it. My bad. Maybe I should have said this at the start. Go read it. I might just put that in the description too. But I would heavily recommend reading Slay the Princess. Grab your pristine blade. Okay, so one thing I have to quote. I'm sorry, but this is possibly my favorite just line of dialogue in the game. It's during Princess and the Dragon, which is probably my second favorite route in the game, where after the long quiet goes back into the hero's body and all the voices are there. I love the voice of the Opportunist. That is my favorite voice in the game, and he's such a smarmy bastard in this route. But the long quiet, one of your dialogue options, after doing all this and having this really strong bonding moment with the princess, you can go back to the others and just say, "It's good to be back, boy, slay the princess." And it's so antithetical to everything that just happened, but it's so fucking funny. I have to pick it. I made a save there, be like, let me see the ending where I don't do that, but let me see this ending too. And honestly, it was still a really interesting ending. I am glad I picked it. But yeah, it's fantastic. Please go read it.